and they fall in love with the models.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Prestige Living Podcast. So with that, who do you want to be?
Hello, welcome to Prestige Living, and this is another edition of Real Estate Truths and Myths. I'm here with Samar Madower.
Hey Jay, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. And today's topic is why have your own agent when you're buying new home construction. It's a common misconception in the industry, especially among buyers, and for a couple of reasons. Because number one, why use an agent when I'm the one who found the home, right? We hear that all the time. First and foremost, the value in a realtor, hopefully, is not in them finding a home for you. It's no longer 1982. There's the internet. Everyone in the world has access to look at property. And if that's the only value your realtors bring to the table, you've got more problems than that. So really, we always talk about looking out for the client's best interest above and beyond our own as real estate professionals. In the new home builder space, it's a topic that we don't talk about often enough, and it's one that needs to be exposed. So, Samar, if I am a home buyer and I've walked into a new home building development, and they're popping up all over the place in Orange County, and they stage them so well and they look so great, and it's it's easily understandable that it is an emotional purchase. You're looking at the property, you think that you're going to get it just like that, and you go directly to the source, which would be the builder, and you say, hey, I want to put in a deposit, I want to buy this place. What is an agent's level of involvement if I brought my own, other than just them receiving a paycheck for doing none of the work?
So the agent's level of involvement should be as involved or more involved as when you're buying a resale home, and that's the truth of the matter. And the reason is, the builders use a completely different set of criteria when they're setting the pricing for home, and they're selling the consumers on the emotional, on this emotional buy. Whereas in resale, we have a lot of factual data. We have sales comparisons. The real estate agents in the agent community, we work on a little bit different set of, I would say, rules and standards. And when you're working with the builders, it's almost like you're working against a monopoly. Put it this way: when a consumer walks in to a new home builder's sales gallery and they walk through those models, with that sales agent that's representing the builder, they are there to represent the seller. Period. I put it this way also, when you've never heard a sales agent that's representing a new home builder will not tell you, hey, go check out all these other 5 communities in the surrounding area that may or may not meet the prospective buyer's needs, because they're there to sell a home in that project on that day to that buyer. Period.
Yeah, you actually bring up a couple good points. So number one, just like we said on our previous Real Estate Truth and Myths, do not go directly to the listing agent, because they are in fact looking out for the seller's best interest above your own. So their job is to sell that property, not to show you around to different homes. So just like that with the new home builder development, they're not going to encourage you to go look at other new homes or any other home for that matter, because their job is to sell those. And you mentioned something interesting about dictating pricing, and I really want to hit on this because you've seen it a lot lately. It is absolutely an emotional purchase, as most home buys are, but there is not enough sample data to measure what we call comparable sales, also known as comps. When you look at a buyer, even savvy buyers in today's market, they can look and they can say, hey, this property's not worth $900,000 because there's 5 just like it that's sold for $850 in the resale market. You can say that all day long. When a new home builder comes into the picture, they are creating the value. They're creating what they think the price should be based on whatever research they've done, whatever money and work has gone into their investment. And it's that way or no way, and you're going directly to the source, the builder themselves, to not even negotiate, really just buy what they're selling you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've ever been into a new builder project and started the process of negotiating with them, or shown interest in a property, you'll find that they have a very specific process, and that process is set in place for a reason. If you actually think about it, now this podcast is not really designed to, beat up on the builders. And actually, in contrast, I mean, new home construction purchasing is a really fun process and can be really great experience. However, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be probably one of the worst purchases of your life, just like when you're buying a resale home. It all depends on, really the representation that you have and the product that you're purchasing, and really finding someone that's experienced enough to walk you through the process. The builder process is set up a specific way, and it's not in your favor. Number one, if you just happen to be out on a Sunday, which, the builders know that people are always out driving around on Saturdays and Sundays, beautiful Southern California, great weather. You happen to drive by a new community, you see those flags, it's in your neighborhood, in the area that you're interested in purchasing. You just happen, unsuspectingly walk into the sales gallery. You don't want to bug your agent. Jay's out by the pool hanging out with, Carl. Maybe you don't want to bug him. You feel like, hey, I'm just going to walk in, just want to grab a fly real quick. The second you do that, the builder will not communicate with your agent anymore. They have a very specific rule. Your agent must be there on the first visit, it must be present, and they must register you. Why is that? It's very simple. They really don't want you to be represented. That it's clear as that. The reason is if you have an agent that's representing you, then you have someone who's looking out for you. We know the right questions to ask. We kind of, instead of them dealing directly with the consumer and dictating everything that happens, telling you, no, you can't negotiate, no, you can't submit an offer, they would prefer not to have a professional agent, representing you in the process. So really understanding the builder process is key to understanding why you need a real estate agent. And Jay was talking about valuation. Understanding the resale market is really key to purchasing a new home. When you walk into a new home construction, most people are getting blinded by the $100,000 worth of upgrades in the model homes. They have no idea that when they're buying, that what they're actually buying is just an empty shell. I'm sure, Jay, you've had this experience, walking through new home construction.
Absolutely, yeah. You walk in and all the fixtures are there, everything's upgraded, you've got everything's done to a T, and you won't realize until later when you're in the design center that these things are going to cost you significantly more money, and not just because they're add-ons and they're upgrades, but they're actually going to be charging you a premium for those upgrades. I remember I'd gone to one home builder last year, and I was curious how much it would cost for this one area to be hardwood flooring instead of carpet. It's about 800 square feet, and it was going to cost $13,000. For those for the consumers that aren't in the remodeling or housing industry, it's you don't know what the prices are, so it's understandable. You say, well, when I move in, I want these hardwood floors. I'll pay whatever the price is. Having a real estate agent there that's looking out for your best interest above the home builders is critical. So, Samer, you purchased a new home yourself within the last 2 years, and I remember very vividly what your experience was like, because there were several checkpoints throughout the transaction where they had asked you to do things that were not against the contract, but not required, like locking in your loan rate prematurely, removing contingencies prematurely, doing things that would absolutely benefit them, but not necessarily benefit you, and you being a broker and knowing better were able to fight back, so to speak. But had you just been a consumer without that level of expertise and knowledge, you probably would have just continued on and done what they'd asked, maybe in fear that you weren't going to get your dream home.
Right, yeah, that was a very fun process. I say that sarcastically. The thing is, the builder and the lender are very, let's go back to the process of buying a new home. After you bring your real estate agent and they sign up as your agent, then you would be required to be pre-qualified or pre-approved with the builder's lender. This is really important. I mean, imagine this. Imagine if you were buying a resale home and the person that was listing the property, the seller, said, yeah, I will consider your offer, but you need to show all of your cards to my lender. Basically, they would know exactly how much money you have in the bank. They would know exactly how much you qualify for. It kind of eliminates your ability to really negotiate, right? Because they can see how, if you have $5 million in the bank and you try to, put in an offer for $20,000 less, and they know that you qualify for the loan, why would they negotiate with you? It's just part of, it's just strategy, negotiation strategy. The builder requires you. They won't even accept your offer. They won't even submit it to their management if you don't basically get approved with their lender. And in that, most of the time the lender is going to incentivize you, the builder is going to incentivize you to use their lender because they want complete control of everything. And throughout that process, they know where everything is at. And like you were saying, in my personal experience, they wanted me to, lock my loan in earlier. And I didn't feel like that was the right time to lock my loan in. And thank God I didn't, because, a month later, I got a much better rate. However, they were making me feel like I had to do it, that it was in my contract and it was something that I was required to do. And really, the only reason why they wanted me to do it is because they have monthly meetings with the builder. The lender has monthly meetings with the builder, and they want to just check things off of their list. They really didn't care whether I was getting the best loan or not. And it was really a stressful experience, and I'm in the business. Like you said, it was not a favorable position to be in, being tied up with their lender, because at the end of the day, the lender was doing what the builder wanted and not really what I wanted, because they got so much business from the builder. They really didn't care whether they lost my loan or not. They just wanted to make the builder happy, their client happy. At the end of the day, I was kind of an outcast in the whole situation.
Right. So if there were just a handful of things, like a checklist of items that you would tell a home buyer listening to this who's maybe considering purchasing a new home, saying these are the top things you need to look out for, or these are the things that you should be made aware of or avoid or whatever, what were some things during your experience that you that can easily be swept under the rug, so to speak, or maybe can go overlooked if you do not have an agent looking out for your best interest?
Right. The number one thing is your ability to negotiate. And, if you go into a new home builder, almost every single time they're sold out or they have a waiting list and they don't negotiate. Your agent will definitely know if you can negotiate and how to do that. It's not always on price. There's a number of different ways to negotiate, and it's not always in the beginning. Sometimes it happens mid-transaction. Those opportunities that present themselves, and a seasoned agent that knows about new construction knows when to really exploit those opportunities. At the end of the day, the builder does care about the consumer, because you got to remember, when they're dealing directly with a consumer, they got to be very careful that they're not looked at like they're taking advantage of people. So if you can find those small mistakes, I would say, you can exploit those. Agents know how to exploit those mistakes, and they can happen in the beginning and they can happen mid-transaction. We do it all the time. Just recently for a client, we helped them get some money mid-transaction because we called out something, we called it a design flaw, and we were able to negotiate that. So there's just little tactics. Another really, really important thing that we would definitely recommend is people walk into new home construction and they fall in love with the models. And they also listen to what the builder says about how they set their pricing, specifically lot premiums. Builders will say, hey, this lot is worth $50,000 more because it has a view. Hey, this lot is worth $10,000 more because it's facing this direction. And at the end of the day, the builder tells you what they dictate the pricing on those lot premiums. You really don't have much of a choice. What's really important is that you have an agent that goes in with a cold eye and tells you, hey, that's great that the builder's charging you for it. It may or may not be worth it. Let me tell you something. When the builder's gone, these are where the premiums are going to be. This is where you're going to get your most resale value. Picking a lot and not overpaying on a lot premium is totally key to not being upside down in case the market turns. Because once the builder's gone, the control of the pricing is now in the free market. When they're there, they dictate everything that happens. And that's really key, because you come to us in 5 years after you want to resell it and you tell us, hey, well, we paid this much of a lot premium. Well, you just may have made the biggest mistake of your life.
Right. Yeah, we see that all the time where as the models are being looked at and all the different phases are being sold, you see that the lot premiums have this arbitrary value associated with them where this is worth $100,000 more because we said so. It's facing west, and so it's worth $50,000 more because we said so. And again, with it being an emotional purchase, a home buyer may buy into these things because whether they see the value in the long run, they see it as more of an intrinsic value. I want this lot, and if that's what I have to pay, that's what I'm gonna pay, which is great. If you're gonna live in the house forever and ever, and value's never an issue, then that's also, that can't be quantified. But what we see more often than not with our clients here in Orange County and with people moving and turning over every few years and whatnot is that when the time comes, they feel that the price that they paid is well justified to ask for more money later on through appreciation, when in fact that's not exactly how it goes. So anything else, Sammer, that you can think of?
There's little things. Hey, construction is organized chaos, and you pay for all these upgrades. I know when purchasing my home, I kept a list of all the upgrades I paid for, down to the plugs in the closets and the extra plugs that we added all over the place. We do our final walkthrough. I mean, they forget things. It's just an honest mistake. I mean, have you been on a construction site before? I mean, there's lumber all over the place. There's guys jumping from house to house. I mean, literally things like just keeping a list of the stuff that you're supposed to have as your paid upgrades, or even the standard things. I mean, they forget things, and they are really good about taking care of those items within the first year. But if you're out of your 1-year limited builder warranty, those things are all going to come out of your pocket. So there's a lot of little things that we've learned along the way through experience, but really the most important thing is really having your agent present. And there's really 3 main times that they're going to be the most beneficial, even though they will be probably present throughout the whole process. Your initial preview of the properties, and I would say your initial previews, because typically in new home construction, you're going to go 2 or 3 times. You're so excited. You take your family, you take your spouse multiple times, typically before you write a contract. And your agent's going to be there through that initial process. That's very important, because understanding the different model types, the orientations of the available lots, understanding what phase of construction they're at, trying to pick up opportunities in between phase properties that maybe didn't sell in a previous phase. That's very important. The design center. Agents can be very, very valuable during your visit to the design center. Typically, most people try not to bring their agent, but if you bring your agent, they can a lot of times help you out in figuring out if you're overpaying for certain costs and what things will bring you the most resale value. And then, of course, during your walkthrough processes, which some builders actually don't allow agents to walk the sites with them during their walkthroughs. You have to get a specific waiver. But those 3 processes are very important to have an agent present. So just always make sure your agent is present during your first visit, so that they could actually represent you throughout the process.
Right. I know that recently when you had gone through and you had escorted a client of yours through a new home builder development, and it was going through that phase, that's where you spotted the design flaw through the walkthrough, which later translated into more dollars in your client's pocket. So that's huge, because at the end of the day, there's too many variables, there's too many things to name and be specific about for a consumer to just know. And when you're talking directly with the home builder and the investors, the managers, the sellers, everyone is reporting to the same people, and they are not. None of those people are you. So that's the biggest thing to really take into consideration here, and make sure that if you do bring your agent, that it's an agent that you'd hired to sell your home, to help you with the resale home, not just a friend or not just someone who's going to get paid and give you some cash. I mean, it's really someone who you're going to be able to hold their feet to the fire and make sure that they know the right questions to ask and they know how to negotiate and represent your best interest at all times. To Sammer's point, when they're in the design center, that they know what translates to value and what doesn't, that they know what the orientation of the models look like on different lots, that if there's a balcony at the top, they know which way the balcony is going to be built and which direction it's going to face. Things are constantly going to change as the phases are rolled out, And lots of things get overlooked, like, oh, I didn't realize that this house was going to be built directly in front of my window, and now I'm looking at this house. It looked different on paper than it does in person. These are all things that your agent should be very well versed in and know how to communicate with you and advise you on prior to ever becoming a problem. So, again, the topic is finding the right agent to represent you when buying a new home and not going directly to the source, which would be the home builder themselves. So it's another edition of Prestige Living Podcast, Real Estate Truths and Myths. Like us on Facebook by searching Remax Prestige, or you can find us online at prestigelivingpodcast.com.